I think this guy's nuts. I think that's why. I mean, he wants to defend himself, which is insane in a death penalty case. And then he actually has said that he may use an insanity defense, which also is insane in itself when the facts show otherwise, that these guys had meticulous planning and attempts to cover up crime. And when you have that, good luck in getting an insanity defense, because to sustain an insanity defense, you have to have an established medical condition and you have to not know the difference between right and wrong. But when you meticulously plan and then try to cover up your tracks, that shows you knew the difference between right and wrong. It shows you knew what you did was illegal. And when you want to just try to put forward an insanity defense as your own lawyer, it doubles the level of difficulty.
Julio's alleged assassins just turned up dead in prison, days after getting sentenced. Now the spotlight's on law enforcement, and people are shouting, was this a straight-up cover-up? This whole case moved crazy fast. Now with 2 suspects gone for good, folks are asking the real questions. Who wanted them silenced, and why right now? The streets thought the Julio 5 and that Florida massacre were all wrapped up. But boom, less than a week after they got hit with time for the cold, calculated homicide of Jacksonville rapper Julio Foolio, 2 of the suspects wind up dead inside. And here's where things really get spooky. Word is, this wasn't just some regular prison brawl. Nah, this looked set up, straight revenge, handled clean, quiet, and maybe even helped along by the same people who were supposed to keep them safe while they waited on appeal. But wait, it gets even wilder. There's still one detail that ain't hit the public yet. And when it does, this whole case might explode into something way bigger. If you thought Foolio's death was just some street beef gone sideways, you're missing the real story. This wasn't just about one rapper getting caught up. This was about revenge, control, and a justice system that's looking less like law and more like chaos. From the beginning, the whole thing felt like a setup. How did things spiral so fast and get this violent? How did 5 people, including a pregnant woman, end up tied to a homicide so brutal it had the entire state of Florida talking?
This is something in Jacksonville that is very well known. These videos, both by our victim as well as by the rival gangs, are posted immediately. It's in the public domain, and it details this long-standing feud.
Only for 2 of them to get taken out before they could even fight back in court. Let's rewind the madness. Julio Foolio, real name Charles Jones, was no stranger to trouble. His name stayed in people's mouths thanks to diss tracks, beef with rivals, and nonstop street talk. But to his fans, he wasn't just drama. He was pure talent. A survivor who had dodged death more than once until June 23rd, when his story came to a deadly end in the parking lot of a Tampa hotel. The spot where it all went down? 2 hotel suites near USF, blasted with 31 bullets. And as crazy as that sounds, that wasn't even the beginning of this nightmare. Cops say 5 people rolled out from Jacksonville, driving 3 hours deep into Tampa with one mission: find Julio Foolio and end him. They tracked him all night, watching him hit club after club, living it up for his birthday. The crew? 30-year-old Rash Murphy, 27-year-old Davian Murphy, 21-year-old Isaiah Chance, 21-year-old Elisa Andrews, the one who was pregnant, and 18-year-old Sean Guy. This wasn't no elite hit squad. These were mostly young, reckless folks under 25, running wild on a deadly mission they clearly weren't ready for. Once those shots went off, the receipts came flooding in. Surveillance cams, got it. Cell records, locked in. Ring cam footage of them casually loading up heavy firepower like it was a movie set. Oh yeah, it's all on tape. Tampa police said the whole thing played out like some true crime special. They weren't rushing either. They chilled across from the hotel, calm and ready. No slipping, no nerves. When Foolio pulled up, they made their move. What happened next was straight execution style. Shots came fast, from rifles and handguns. It was a wrap in seconds. Foolio was found slumped in the passenger seat, hit with so many rounds he didn't stand a chance. And what did they do after that? They celebrated. Word is they popped champagne, sent out DMS, joking about the whole hit, like it was some twisted challenge in a drill music game. But now, 2 of them are already gone, dead before they could even hear the full weight of their sentence. This wasn't just some case that spiraled out of control.
Jones was in town celebrating his birthday and posted on his social media his locations several times throughout that night. Surveillance video was critical in this investigation, as suspects were seen on video following Jones from location to location.
This was something way darker. This whole situation was ticking like a bomb ready to blow. And get this, the only female suspect, Elisa Andrews, didn't even try to dip. She started spilling to the cops immediately, and what she handed over, straight dynamite. Her phone was basically a tracking device, following Foolio all night, club to club, party to party. She didn't pull the trigger, but the cops say she made the hit happen by feeding live locations straight to her man and his crew. Think about that for a second. A 21-year-old pregnant woman possibly facing life in prison, or worse, all for dropping pins like it was just another night in the group chat. And here's the crazy twist. People think she's about to flip. She's the only one who didn't waive her right to a speedy trial, and legal experts say that move's got plea deal written all over it. She's trying to get ahead of the storm, avoiding life behind bars, or maybe even the death penalty. Even rapper Boozy had something to say. He went off, claiming cops were laughing about Foolio's death and calling out what he saw as straight-up bias and dirty work behind the scenes. But that ain't even the wildest part. One of the suspects, Rash Murphy, made a move that had jaws dropping. He tried to represent himself in a death penalty case. Not some small traffic ticket, a death penalty trial, like he really thought he could step into court solo and beat the system. But let's be real, that plan crashed hard. According to Fox 13, Rash is now one of the 2 suspects found dead in prison. And how he died? Still a big mystery. So what really went down? Was it prison payback? Street beef that followed them inside? Or something darker? Something cooked up from the inside out? Because Florida's prison system? It's got history, and not the clean kind. Take Lowell Correctional, where Elisa could end up. It's got a nasty rep. We're talking inmate beatdowns, staff doing shady stuff, and fear running through that place like it's part of the air. As for the guys, they got sent to Florida State Prison. And if you know anything about that joint, you already know it's got a past soaked in scandal. Guards facing eliminated charges, inmates dropping dead in suspicious ways, and cover-ups that sound like something straight out of a Netflix crime doc. This is where it all starts crumbling from the inside. So what went down next? Honestly, no shocker. Just days after sentencing, both Rash Murphy and Sean Guy Wright were found dead. Yeah, gone before the real courtroom drama even got started. Reports, still not confirmed, say one of them got into it with another inmate, and it might have been a setup linked to gang ties. The other? Cause of death is being kept real quiet, and now everyone's asking, what's really going on? The case that once looked like a clean slam dunk? It's falling apart. 2 suspects dead, and the mess just keeps getting messier. Let's get into the one they're calling the flipping suspect, Davian Murphy. He was the last one cops caught, but it wasn't because he disappeared slick into the shadows. Nope, he got snatched because he got sloppy. This guy helped pull off a hit, then had the nerve to hang out in Jacksonville, the same city where the whole investigation was red hot, and started taunting people online.
Yeah, that's why he may have a screw loose, but it doesn't mean he satisfies the requirements of an insanity defense.
He went and posted things like, I ain't going nowhere, like he was untouchable. For real, you helped carry out a full-blown execution and then just stayed posted up in the exact same spot where cops were crawling through every block. The crew once known as the Foolio 5. It's now down to 3. 2 are gone, 1's flipping, and blood's already spilled, and the actual trial hasn't even really begun. And Davian, he didn't get caught ducked off in another state or hiding out on the low. Nah, he stayed loud online, using anonymous chat apps to mock people chasing him, even daring folks to pull up. That's the wild mindset we're dealing with, and that's exactly how they bagged him. Davian never left the city. Cops didn't need spy gear or high-tech ops. His own ego walked him into that cell. This wasn't a man running from the law. This was a man chasing clout until the jail doors slammed shut. But the moves Davian made before getting grabbed, that might just explain why things spiraled so crazy after... Remember the name Spaz? Word is, he was Davian's brother, and he didn't survive the streets either. He was reportedly taken out in a past gang-related shooting connected to one of Foolio's closest people. But Foolio didn't just fire back with bars. He went way beyond that. Videos started surfacing of Foolio's crew doing the unthinkable, actually urinating on Spaz's grave. And Foolio? He didn't shy away from it. He allegedly put it in his lyrics, mocking the dead in ways most rappers wouldn't dare touch. According to Mob James, the reason behind all this bloodshed was crystal clear. So when Davian and Rash allegedly caught Foolio off guard in that Tampa hotel lot and lit him up, a lot of folks said, this was personal. This wasn't about rap games. This wasn't about lyrics or Instagram clout. This was revenge, straight up payback. And now the story's twisting into something people don't even want to whisper about. Because here's the uncomfortable part. Some of the same people who laughed off Foolio's death and ignored his mother's cries for justice are now the same ones investigating how 2 of his alleged assassins turned up dead in prison. The second the tables flipped, everything got real quiet. But the streets? Oh, they're wide awake. And people are wondering, was what happened to Rash and Sean just karma coming back around? Or is there something way darker hiding in the cracks of the system? Let's take it back real quick. When Foolio got taken out, he wasn't some random target. He was being followed. Multiple cars on him. Cops pieced it all together with tech. Surveillance footage, license plate readers, even Cash App records. One of the suspects, he booked the hotel using a Cash App card. Another, caught crystal clear on Tesla dash cam and a Ring doorbell, loading up what looked like AK-style rifles like he was filming a music video. This wasn't some slick operation. It was a digital disaster. They left a tech trail so obvious it's like they signed their own confessions. And now prosecutors are dissecting that mess like it's an all-you-can-eat evidence buffet. But here's where things turn cold. Once Rash and Sean turned up dead behind bars, prison officials gave the usual excuse: inmate violence. But that didn't fly. Behind closed doors, whispers started flying. Anonymous voices said the yard was lit up with chatter. Word had already spread about who those 2 were. And according to some insiders, those names didn't sit right with folks inside. People claim it wasn't just random violence. It was a choice, a message. And maybe, just maybe, it was Foolio's reach stretching way beyond rap. One anonymous report claimed Rashard got cornered in a hallway, beaten down and left there bleeding for hours with no help. Another source said Sean got taken out in his sleep. Now, none of this is confirmed yet, but even if just part of it is true, the real issue ain't just that they died, it's who let it happen. Because if folks inside the Florida Department of Corrections turned a blind eye, or worse, let it go down, then this isn't just street beef anymore. This is starting to look like state-approved payback. And 1090 Jake? He already called it out. This ain't no theory. It's part of a dirty pattern. Florida prisons got a long, grim history. Officers using excessive force, inmates dying under shady circumstances, and staff who abuse power like it's sport. So believe what you want, but receipts are piling up. This was never about justice. This was vengeance. Maybe even a whole system built on silence and retaliation. They didn't want a courtroom showdown. They wanted people shut down. And that's exactly what they got. 2 suspects wiped out. A system that buries people before the judge even speaks. By the time that second body dropped in the prison yard, nobody was asking what went wrong. They were asking the how did no one see this coming? Florida's prison system has been knee-deep in scandals for years. But the speed and silence around the deaths of Rashard Murphy and Sean Guy Wright, 2 of the main suspects in Foolio's homicide, has got everyone on edge. Even inside law enforcement circles, the whispers are getting louder. Insiders say the warning signs were there. Fights, written requests for protective custody, complaints that got 0 response. Here's the real deal. Some folks weren't looking for courtroom justice. They wanted these men gone. And in a place like Florida State Prison, if the right people want you out of here, that can be arranged. No questions asked. Let's rewind the whole thing. Rashard Murphy got hit with first-degree premeditated homicide, same as the rest of the crew. But his case spun out fast. Court documents show he asked to drop his lawyer and represent himself. Multiple news outlets said his behavior in court had people worried. This wasn't a guy trying to be slick. He looked broken. Rashard said he couldn't get through to his lawyer and claimed he was being treated like he was guilty before the trial even started. Then came the letter. Rashard wrote straight to the judge, saying jail deputies were messing with his mail, cutting off his phone calls, and making it impossible for him to build his defense. This wasn't some fake tough guy act. This was a man falling apart. And when you throw that kind of panic into a Florida prison with the rep Rashard had, that's a recipe for violence waiting to happen. And don't think this is new. Back in 2012, a mentally ill inmate named Darren Rainey was boiled alive in a scalding hot prison shower by guards at Dade Correctional. His skin peeled off in sheets. And that's just one horror story. So think about it. If something like that could happen in the open, what do you really think went down with Rashard and Sean behind closed doors? Nobody was charged for that boiling death for 4 years. And in 2015, a group of prison guards at Franklin Correctional were exposed as full-blown white supremacist gang members operating inside the system. Then in 2020, a whistleblower dropped a report on Lowell Correctional, the same prison Elisa Andrews might land in. That report said guards were threatening female inmates and forcing them into humiliating acts under fear of violence. So now look at this. 2 young black men, fresh off getting charged in the homicide of a high-profile rapper, end up dead just days after sentencing? That's not bad luck. That's not coincidence. That's a pattern, especially when gang affiliations are tied to every corner of this case. Let's not sugarcoat it. Foolio wasn't just some rapper. He was the face of 6 Block. His enemies, crews like ATK and 1200. Law enforcement believes these same groups had hands in Foolio's homicide and in a long list of retaliation homicides that led up to it. This battle didn't start in 2024. This beef's been brewing for years. Foolio's lyrics weren't metaphors. They were about real deaths. His videos? Bold disrespect. Some clips even showed grave sites being defiled, including one that reportedly showed his people violating the grave of Spaz, brother of Rashard and Davian Murphy. That wasn't just rap beef, that was a message, a street oath sealed in blood. So what happens when a deep personal gang battle spills into a Florida prison system already known for violent guards, wild prison yards, and straight-up racial tension? You don't get justice, you get a battle zone. 1090 Jake, a former inmate turned prison reform voice, kept it real. Florida prisons are battlegrounds, fights every day, extortion like clockwork. And homicide, that's not rare, it's part of the playbook. So when 18-year-old Sean Guy Wright turned up dead in custody, nobody gasped. People expected it, because in a place like that, survival ain't promised, especially when your name's tied to the most high-profile homicide in the whole state. No headlines, no outrage, just silence. An 18-year-old kid, facing the death penalty, dies in lockup before a judge or jury even hears his side of the story, and folks barely blinked. Did Sean even understand what kind of storm he got dragged into? That's what people keep missing. Most of the Foolio 5 were barely grown. They weren't hardcore gangsters with long rap sheets. They were young, internet-raised soldiers thrown into a street battle way bigger than them. And now, 2 of them are zipped up in body bags without ever getting to speak. So why isn't anyone digging into what part the system played in all this? Why is there more heat over some diss lyrics than over real deaths happening in state custody? Like, why were high-risk inmates dumped into general population right after sentencing? Why were Rashard's written cries for help completely ignored? Who approved mixing gang rivals in the same housing units? And the scariest question of all, who had something to gain by keeping them quiet? Because here's the cold truth. Dead men don't testify. Dead men don't flip. Dead men don't point fingers at the real people pulling strings from behind the curtain. The kind of people tied into law enforcement, politics, and systems built to hide the dirt, not clean it up. This wasn't just about one rapper. This was bigger than bars and beef. Now rewind it back to that night in Tampa when everything exploded. Foolio was in town celebrating his birthday, hitting clubs, popping bottles, posting every move like it was just another night out. He had no idea he was being hunted. 5 people, 2 cars, loaded weapons, a 3-hour ride from Jacksonville with one goal, revenge, and Elisa, the girl in the crew, reportedly tracked him step by step from her phone. So when Foolio pulled up to the Home 2 suites to crash for the night, the squad was already parked up, watching, waiting, ready to strike. Text messages, GPS pings, phone logs, social media, every single breadcrumb pointed straight to Elisa. They knew when Foolio touched down in Tampa. They knew when he checked in at the Airbnb. They followed his every move from club to club, shadowing him like a ghost. And when the time was right, they waited. Foolio didn't go out instantly, but he never stood a chance. He was found slumped in the front seat, riddled with bullets. 3 others got hit too, people who were just in the wrong spot at the wrong time. They weren't even part of the beat. But here's the part that'll freeze your blood. The whole thing was caught on camera. Surveillance footage, plate readers, Ring doorbells, cell records, Cash App receipts. The trail was so solid it felt like a movie script, except this wasn't Hollywood. It was real, and it was brutal. Even 1090 Jake said it clear. They were cooked from the moment they pulled the trigger. The receipts were stacked too deep. But here's where it flips. The system didn't wait for a fair fight in court. It didn't wait for evidence to be tested. It didn't wait for a verdict. It moved like it already made up its mind. Judge, jury, and executioner. Now only 3 suspects are left standing. One's a pregnant woman who might give birth in chains. One's a reckless fugitive who thought Instagram DMs made him invincible. And the last one? Trying to pull together an insanity plea as the court gears up for the death penalty. This ain't just rap drama, this is a full-blown death spiral. And the most twisted part? Nobody wins here. Foolio's gone. 2 suspects, gone before the trial even kicked off. A baby might be born inside a prison, and the rest, they're either looking at life behind bars or the needle. But this ain't just a one-off story. Step back, and you'll see it's happening everywhere. Across the country, drill rappers are getting picked off in planned attacks. Retaliation hits going viral like TikToks. And young black men are getting funneled straight into a justice system that looks more like a reality show than a real solution. This isn't just music beef, it's a machine. A system that feeds on chaos and sells it as justice. The real question ain't just who pulled the trigger. It's who allowed this to happen. Who stood by while these young guys got dragged into a digital battleground where every death gets likes and clout is treated like currency? Who turned the prison system into a second execution squad, finishing the job before the court even had its say? And when the next rapper gets gunned down, are we really gonna act shocked? Or will we finally admit the truth that's been right in our faces? This ain't just hip-hop anymore. It's a meat grinder. And unless something major changes, the cycle's only speeding up. We're watching executions happen before the trials. And by the time the dust settles, the body count isn't just high, it's intentional. Foolio, gone at 26. Sean Guy Wright, dead at just 18. Rashard Murphy, wiped out before he even had the chance to file an appeal. Now Florida is making a move it hasn't pulled in decades, pushing for multiple death penalties in a case tied to rap beef. Let that sink in for a second. After Foolio was taken out in an execution-style hit, prosecutors are now officially chasing the death penalty for at least 2 of the last suspects still breathing. One of them, Davian Murphy, the same dude who was laughing on live chats, mocking the whole manhunt like it was a game. He said, "I'm right here in Jacksonville," like nothing could touch him. And then there's Elisa Andrews, the pregnant woman accused of tracking Foolio's every step that night. She didn't pull the trigger, but the state's still ready to lock her up for life. But here's the real question. No one's saying out loud, is this about justice? Or is it just revenge in a suit and tie disguised behind legal papers? Because behind those courtroom doors, that's where the real plot is unfolding. And if anyone actually pulls back that curtain, this whole story might be way darker than folks are ready to admit. Back in April, State Attorney Susie Lopez stood at the mic, flanked by local cops and federal agents. The vibe wasn't solemn, it was celebratory. 5 people charged, multiple guns seized, phone logs and GPS data dropped like trophies. You'd think they just took down a cartel boss, and in a way, they kinda did. This wasn't just one homicide, this was a full-blown street battle, a long brewing conflict between Jacksonville rap crews like ATK, 1200, and 6 Block, a back-and-forth battle with bodies on both sides. Now, if the courts manage to lock in death sentences, it'll be the first time this rap beef gets punished with the highest penalty possible. But don't let the press conference fool you. Ask any defense attorney or prison watchdog and they'll tell you, yeah, the evidence might be stacked, but the motives? They're way messier than the media makes it seem. Take Rashard Murphy, for example, one of the original suspects, now dead behind bars. He was reportedly working on an insanity defense. Court records show he tried to fire his lawyer, wrote legal motions by hand, and begged the judge to hear him out, saying jail staff were blocking his calls, hiding his mail, and stopping him from building a defense. Legal analyst Dave Berg said Rashard probably had mental health issues, but not enough to qualify for legal insanity. But now, Rashard's gone, and the trial's moving forward like he never existed. That's not a win. That's a giant red flag waving in the wind. Florida's prison system is devouring people before they even get a shot at trial. And let's be real, this ain't just a one-off scandal. Human rights groups have logged dozens of cases. Pre-trial inmates dying before their court dates, people with mental illness tossed into general population, high-risk suspects denied protective custody, and internal investigations that vanish without a trace. So now we gotta ask the question everyone's scared to speak. Are these folks actually being sentenced by a court, or are they being set up to never make it that far? Because what's going down behind those walls might not just be sloppy, it might be deliberate. Now let's swing back to Elisa Andrews. She's 21, pregnant, and never accused of pulling the trigger. But under Florida's felony homicide rule, just playing a part in the setup makes her just as guilty. That's the catch. And here's where it really twists. Word is, Elisa's been talking since day one. Prosecutors haven't made it official, but insiders say she started cooperating immediately. Her phone data followed Foolio's last moves all over Tampa, and the fact she didn't waive her right to a speedy trial, while the others did, that's a major clue. She's most likely chasing a plea deal before things get even uglier. So now everybody's asking what she's saying, and more importantly, who's about to get dragged in next. Several sources, including DJ Academics, have already said Foolio's homicide may have been retaliation for the death of Spaz, one of the alleged shooter's brothers. Spaz wasn't just ended, he was allegedly taken out by someone close to Foolio. Then came the viral videos, people urinating on Spaz's grave. Not just a diss, that was a challenge. Grief like that, it turns into pure rage, and when rage is tied to street crews, it turns into missions. Foolio's ending wasn't random. It was planned, tracked, and maybe even approved by higher-ups in the street hierarchy. Now here's where the real bomb drops. Multiple Justice insiders are whispering about a sealed indictment. Yep, Fed-level silence. Word is, federal agents have already been working this case from the shadows, especially on the digital forensics side. They pulled Cash App records, tracked phone tower pings, and followed vehicles across county lines like it was a manhunt. This ain't just about 5 suspects. This might be a piece of something way bigger. And if Elisa is cutting a deal, that sealed indictment could crack the whole case wide open. That kind of federal involvement ain't just about homicide. It screams something way bigger. We're talking RICO-level moves in the making. So believe this, it's not over. The spotlight might be on the Foolio 5 for now, but if Elisa starts dropping names, if Davian flips to dodge that death sentence, and if the feds already got wiretaps and DM receipts, then Jacksonville might be staring down a massive gang sweep, something that could rival what happened with YSL in Atlanta. But this time, there might be more bodies than courtrooms can handle. Through all the clout chasing, social media flexing, and courtroom chaos, one fact still hits hard. Julio Foolio is gone. A rapper who turned his pain into bars, made his mark in the streets, dissed the dead, created enemies, and in the end, paid the ultimate price. Yeah, Foolio stirred things up, no doubt. But dying like that, in a car, riddled with bullets on his birthday, he didn't deserve to go out like that. And neither did 2 teens who got taken out before they even had a shot to speak in court. So what's next? Will Davian Murphy even make it to trial? Is Elisa Andrews ready to name names and cut her time short? Will Florida really try to send young defendants to death row over a rap battle for the first time ever? And what about the next generation? The fans, the kids watching every second of this unfold online? What are they learning from this? That if you speak up, you die? If you stay silent, you rot? That the justice system might skip the process and jump straight to punishment? This stopped being about who pulled the trigger a long time ago. It's about a system that handed out the weapons, ignored every warning sign, and now acts like the rising body count is some big mystery. It's a vicious cycle. And right now, we're all caught in it. There's way more coming. This story, it's far from done. So don't miss what drops next because it's about to go even deeper than anyone expected. Make sure you hit that comment section, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with everybody following the case. And we'll catch you on the next one. Yeah.